Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome and thank you for joining me this evening on the late one with the big news of the season. Today is the 15th of September, 2022. And yes, we are in September, moving on down to October. As you know, one of the big things which is happening around here in the UK now is in regards to the Queen and the burial, which is coming up on Monday. But yeah, without further ado, let me just bring in Gary and just invite you for those who are on Facebook, those on YouTube, those on Instagram, those on Twitter to share the video and let's have a conversation as much as possible. Thank you. Hey, Gary, good evening. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, sir, Sylbourne City. It's great to be on the show, and it's a privilege to join again with you to talk about the events of the week.
Events
Very
of the week, events of the week, events of the season, events of the time.
yes, yes, yes,
And
yes.
I think what is the big thing is regarding the late Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth pending funeral and period of mourning in the UK,
Yes.
as many people are. Yeah, I can see the queues, not literally, but the queues stretching all the way back. I think there's about 4 miles
Yeah.
of wanting to
Yeah.
pay respect to the Queen. Um, what's your? I mean, last week, I think we came on the show the same night. Last week Thursday. It was last week Thursday. Well, she passed away last week Thursday, isn't it, Gary?
I think it wasn't it Wednesday night
No, I
or
think
Thursday?
it was the same. It was the eighth.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
it was the eighth, and we came on the same night. I went to Buckingham Palace the next night, Friday night, and
Yeah. You had audience with King Charles III.
well, I wanted to ask. A few people asked me to see if I can ask him why Jamaica is having 12 days of mourning while the UK was having 10. But I, I think he was having some issues with his pen, so he wasn't able to reach out to me. Yeah. But I
I
must
think I
say,
think BBC should really hire
what is it?
I think BBC should have hired you to cover the proceedings down there. You look like you're down there more often than them.
And it was a very lovely evening walking. Found myself. I parked up near Westminster by the House of Commons. There's a secret park in which I know. I used to go down there sometime and do some shows, and then walked all the way past Downing Street, all the way up to Trafalgar Square, then cut across to the mall, and just being an atmosphere with lots of people. It reminded me of when Princess Diana passed away. I also went there as well, and the lady said to me, "Have you got a flower?" I said,
Okay.
"No, I have no flowers," and they even gave me a flower to put there. So yeah, it was a nice occasion there. I must say. What's your take on it
Good.
since?
Of the proceedings down in Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, well, just generally the whole you know period of mourning
Yeah, I
and
think
so.
yeah, I think it's a very somber time for the nation. You know, moved in a sense that there are people around the world and in our own country really that took the time. I mean, they marked out their space by staying there. I think over 2 nights, 2 days, so that they
Yeah.
could, when the time comes for them to view, they stayed in the park or wherever they could, so that they
Mm,
could be at the front of the queue. So I think there is a period or a time of grief and a time of mourning. And if I can just share something with you, my friend, as you
mm,
know that as others would say, that I'm a man of the cloth. Well,
yes.
I've got my
Not
shirt and
not
tie.
not
I don't
not
know the cloth.
not Jamaica. Not Jamaica. B clot or R clot.
But I don't want to lessen my role here. But I'm not going to read the whole thing as far
Mm,
as the scriptures. I'll just make reference to Ecclesiastes chapter 3, and if anybody really wants to read from verse 1 to 14. But um, the wise man Solomon says, "For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to
yeah,
plant, a time to pluck up what is being planted, a time to kill, a time to
yeah,
heal, a time to break down, and all of that, you know." And as we know that there is a time of grieving, as we all do, whether it's family member or not, and a time to mourn. And grief really is the internal meaning given to the express and or the experience of loss. And
mm,
mourning is when you take the grief you have on the inside and express it outside. So we
mm,
can see we're seeing that in action, where the country is mourning because of the grief that is inside. So if an individual doesn't have the grief, then there's nothing that they will mourn. People are dying every day, but we don't express the mourn, do we? Because we're not feeling the grief on the inside. And we see that the country that we are living in and the world, that there are people from all over the world, if they could get to where they're able to express the grief that they're feeling, they're coming in and spending 9 hours, 10 hours in a line.
yes,
It's so funny, Sylbourne. People will stand for 9, 10 hours, 12 hours just to pass a coffin, let's say for the most 3 seconds.
yes,
I thought about it. It's quite unique that people will spend a whole day or let's say 2 days standing in a queue, waiting for the queue to move,
yes,
and when the queue, when you reach to ever you've gone to see, you're only spending, let's say, 3 seconds.
mm,
Because you go there, you stand. I've seen people bow, curtsy,
yeah,
showing
yeah,
their respect, and then they move on. And that's it, Silborn.
yes.
So so they want to act out their grief. They're acting out their grief. It's unique watching the how human
Yeah.
reacts to the situation that's around. You'll spend a whole day waiting for a thing, but the thing only lasts for a few seconds and then you move on. It's
But,
quite
but what do you say? What do you say, like when people say that I'm not going to grieve, or I don't have the reason to grieve? There are many people in the world who have passed away. Why we don't grieve for them? I think you have touched the nail on its head right there when you say, unless you have somewhat of a relationship. Is that what you're saying? Is that the key
yes.
word?
Grief. When somebody has grief, it's the internal meaning given to the experience of loss. So, for instance, I mean, thank the Lord. Let me say, my parents are still alive.
Mm,
And if I can refer to you, if you may allow me to, you lost your father.
yes.
So
Uh-huh.
that grief is inside you. You're not showing it at the moment,
Mm,
but you are grieving. Then sometimes that could take months. That could even take
mm,
years for some people. You're
yes.
feeling the grief. But then the mourning is the expression of what you're feeling inside. So
That's the
some
that's the
people,
morning. The morning. That's the morning bit there.
yes, because you are expressing it. You're mourning. People will see then, man. Sylbourne is mourning for his father, and
Mm,
some people can't handle that. Some people, their whole life collapses
mm,
because the grief that they feel so overwhelming that the expression they express it and it takes over their entire being and they mourn, and some sadly some do take their own lives, some go
Mm.
into mental institutions. Their mental health suffers because the grief that they feel, and some people internalize that grief and do
Yeah.
not express it. And psychologists would say that is far more, even more dangerous, because when one doesn't express that grief, when somebody does not is not able to do that and they internalize it, then you've got to watch that individual, because you just don't know what's going to happen, how they're going to
Yeah.
express that. So the expression of that grief is the mourning, yes. But
Oh, that's very interesting. That's very interesting because a lot of people are saying that they feel like they're being pressured to grieve or pressured to mourn. Uh, the shops are closed down. The cinemas are closed down. Football is closed down. But then people should recognize that they do not have to grieve, isn't it?
no, well, again, it can be
Mm,
debatable. I mean, it would be nice to
mm.
hear what a psychologist or sociologist would say, because
Yes,
obviously I would think it's connected to whatever they studied. But you cannot grieve for something or someone if there's no connection with it.
right.
Because, for instance,
Yeah,
you may
yeah,
you may have a let's use it to an inanimate object. Yeah.
mm, yeah,
Now, you love your car. You love the make of the car that you drive. Yes.
yes,
If you got into an accident, it's not your fault. Somebody just either hit you or foolishly, whatever they did, it was foolish for them to do, or even if it was just a mistake.
yeah,
Now, you feel bad about it. That's the grief.
yeah.
That's the grief. Now, you could also mourn for that, in the sense that you're now expressing, I mean,
Some emotions.
some emotions. You're mourning. They don't
Mm,
actually say that. I wouldn't actually say you're mourning for your car, but that is what you're doing. Now, if you didn't, if I have a car, you're not connected to it. So I could
yeah,
lose it, and you will say, "Oh, well, Gary, sorry to hear, man." But then you'll move on because there's no connection between you and my car.
mm,
You
mm,
understand? So there are some people, as far as the royal family is concerned and the queen, there's no connection there. So
yes,
probably with them, they're saying that, why should I grieve? I want to get on with my life. I want to be able to go to the shops, and the shop is closed. Why is
yeah,
it closed?
yeah. So that is why people like Mutabaruka in Jamaica, people like Oliver Samuels, they're actually saying, why are we grieving for 10 days or mourning for 10 days when we have no connection with the monarch or any connection with the queen? Because there's a big debate which is going on now to say that what why we there's so many people in the world dying, so many people, thousands of people died in Jamaica. Nobody's grieving. We don't have any 12 days of mourning for them. I was looking at something here that says mourning is the expression of an experience
Right,
that is a consequence of an event in life involving loss
right,
occurring as a result of someone's death, specifically someone who was loved, although loss from death is not exclusively the cause of all experience of grief. And I think that many people in the UK, and it is understand that the Queen Elizabeth, her late Majesty, people loved her. you
yes,
know,
yes,
and that is why I believe that many people are now talking about the monarch and maybe the time to move on, because now that the queen has passed away, the nice lady, now they can really go at it now, and maybe Charles is going to feel the brunt of everything. So Charles is going to feel the brunt of his pens, he's going to feel the brunt of the monarch, and he's going to feel the brunt of the Commonwealth.
yes, yes, yes. I mean, grief. Put it this way, and it has been said that grief is a very delicate time, because individuals, human
Yes,
beings, things will come out, things can be said, actions can be given, um, that wouldn't necessarily come out either way, but because humanity, if I can say, or human beings cannot
Yeah.
handle these things. So rightly said, and it has been, I think, on the undercurrent is that Charles III, he's going to have a very rough ride after this, because as you rightly pointed out, there are countries, there are territories right now that, because the Queen was a nice lady,
Yeah.
she has been um labeled as the mother of
Yes.
the Commonwealth. And there was a certain respect, yes, that she commanded. She didn't demand it,
Yes.
no, but there was a certain respect and aurora around her that that she commanded, and people loved her for that.
Yes.
Charles don't have that.
Yes.
Charles does not have that. And to tell
Yeah.
you the truth again, he's not. I don't think he's going to reign for very long.
Yeah. But
I don't
listen, listen,
think too
yeah,
much, but
listen to what Oliver Samuel says from Jamaica. If I can play it.
Family. Look here, no. He is not a political creature. You understand me? But sometimes, as a citizen of the world, as a citizen of Jamaica, sometimes certain things happen and you have to express your
You can
views.
hear him, yeah?
And it's talking to
yeah,
you now as a family, and those who do not like it can resign and come out of the world family, because me, son a divorce, mama, daughter divorce, papa, and all them kind of something. So we wouldn't be creating no history. Now listen to me. The Queen, Queen Elizabeth II of England, has passed on, and may her soul rest in peace. But listen up, after 50 or 60 years of independence, do you think any independent nation within the Caribbean should have talked about, say, them have 12 days of mourning? Mourning for what? Eh? In with desperation. The Queen, me no remember it. See ever see it fit. This say make she give me something. We have declared our independence, and therefore we have to make we own a decision. We have to determine we own a destiny. That is what I think independence is. I still cannot understand why this woman was the head of Jamaica and we have a governor general when we.
It is very clear that he just woke up to
is
certain
woke.
Mrs. Sullivan.
That,
I,
that,
I, I, Gary?
that is in woke.
Yeah, I think
I'm
I
here.
think
Do
he
you
just
hear me?
woke. Yes, yes. I think he just woke up, and I've been saying that because during the period of the independence celebration, the 60th year, everybody was saying "Happy Independence, Jamaica! Happy Independence!" All these fanfare, all these gala. But I clearly said that Jamaica is not independent if you're actually swearing allegiance to the Queen or to the monarch. Oliver Samuels put it there by saying that I don't understand this. If we're independent, then that means that if we're independent, so the penny has dropped right there. Well, actually, Oliver, actually, if you're listening, we are not independent. Jamaica is not an independent country. Australia is not an independent country. Canada is not an independent country because you swear allegiance to the Queen. And therefore, I said further, you guys are lucky they never tell nothing more than 20 days or 30 days. You know what I'm saying? Until the people in Jamaica put pressure on the Jamaican authorities, the Jamaican government, and to say that we need to remove the monarch as the head of state. And this has nothing to do with any sentiments about the Queen Elizabeth. I like Queen Elizabeth. I have no problem with her. I actually walked to the mall and I actually, shared my private moment in mourning for her. When people might be upset about that, well, I guess I live in England. I have no problem with the Queen. She's a nice lady.
Mhm, mhm,
You know.
mhm, mhm.
So what Oliver Samuels is saying is correct, but the pennies should be dropping for Jamaicans. I was speaking to a principal the other day, and I said, and he was saying, so is Canada independent state because of the fact that Canada is rich, but being rich doesn't take away the fact that you're still swearing allegiance to the Queen or to the King. King Charles is going to rein all of them in. I said, King Charles with his pen, he's going to rein all of them in, Gary, until they remove him as a head of state.
Yeah, yeah. I think Charles is going to be a very active king. I don't think he's going to stay quiet at all.
Yes.
No, I don't think he's going to stay quiet at all. I think he's going to be very active,
Mm.
and I don't think that Parliament is going to be pleased with him.
Well, as they said, the king reigned, and the queen was very quiet. Now there's a king, so let's watch your space with that. And the ladies and gentlemen, there's going to be the funeral next week, the 19th. Um,
Monday, isn't
lots
it?
of places, yeah, Monday. Lots of places are closed down, so work is not. So many people peed off by that because they say it's going to tip the UK over into recession. But that's another thing there. But I mentioned in my title there, and the title was the King Charles, King Charles, the new monarch, the new government, and Chris Kaba. The new government, guy. We Liz Truss somehow has gotten the honeymoon. She got a slight honeymoon in a way, Gary. Wouldn't you say that? But not by
Yeah.
chart, not but by default.
I
You
mean,
know.
I think that I don't know. She, yeah, yeah. She's got a few more days. She's got a few. She's had a few weeks or a week or where she nobody really has heard her. She hasn't really been in the limelight. She has not
Yes.
really been in the limelight. So um, I don't think she's the luckiest PM to have started like that for probably for quite a number of years because
Well,
everybody.
they've said many times that she's the type of prime minister that is not going to give you a blow by blow commentary of the things that she's doing. She's just going to go out there and get the job done. That's the type of prime minister that they said she is, and she's been very low key. But one of the big things which is coming out now is regarding what the new chancellor has done so far,
Mm,
which is raising eyebrows by many people. What he has done so far, and what he has done is that he's making it uncapped the bonuses for the mighty and the rich. The bankers is considers scrapping bankers bonus cap to boost the city. Liz Truss also said, I'm not going to do windfall taxes to also boost the city and to make London competitive. Can't you see? What do you think about that? There's some justification for that, isn't it?
well, um, Sylbourne and I let me inform you, and it's not that I have any inside information, but I just want
Mm.
to inform you and everybody else that's listening in on this very famous um, show that is just about to topple BBC off the top rating. That these guys that have just taken offices, I think it is quite plain to see that they're just the face of the invisible men that are behind
Yeah.
the scenes making decisions. Because how could this chancellor, just after 1 week, if I
Mm.
could say, just after 1 week, he then makes such a sweeping statement like that? All of what is being passed in Parliament and the policies that are being made, Liz Truss, Kwame, and all of them down the line, they are just following a script that has already been written for them.
So what you're saying to me, Gary, is that Rishi Sunak, Kwasi Kwarteng, Sajid Javid, all chancellors are somewhat frontmen for a bigger picture.
Yes. And if put it this way, if Sunak had won the election to be the prime minister and the head of the Conservative Party, there would be no difference because whoever he would have placed in the chancellor's office, that would not have changed. It doesn't matter who is in there.
Interesting.
It would not have changed. I am quite certain. Now, obviously, they may say,
Mm.
well, Reverend Graham or Mr. Graham, or if you're close to me, Gary, um, you can't say that because you don't have any proof. That's fine. I will agree with that. I don't have proof. But then I believe that we must be able to look at what is being done right now. I believe sometimes you've got to look behind you in order to know where you're going. And I think that history always tells us that and shows us, gives us pointers and tells us the story for the road ahead. That the decisions that are being made and have been made have already been made. It's
Mm.
just that people go into the office and there's a face to whoever is making the decisions so that they can say,
So
yes,
what?
Gary Graham did this, or yes, Gary Graham did that. Because nobody's going to believe Sylbourne that a faceless
Mm.
person made a decision. No, that's stupidity.
So what? So what we're actually saying is that um, the chancellor, while maybe deemed to be one of the second most powerful figure, is just a lackey in a sense. I- I'm just analyzing things, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, boys and girls, men and
When
Adam and Eve, Adam and Eve, not, not Steve or Steve and Adam. What do you say about that? The chancellor has just announced, or is about to make an announcement that uncapped bankers' fees, bankers' bonuses, uncapped. So therefore, to make the city of London or to make London more competitive, Liz Truss says, let's not do windfall taxes on these massive profit that these guys are making to make London very competitive. What do you say about that? Is that the right policy? Or should they be windfall tax and those taxes go back into your pocket? Or should there be a cap on bankers' bonuses? Therefore, that means to say that London, will it be competitive or not? Because bankers are going to say, well, I mean, I'll go to London because guess what? If I go to London, these guys are going to try to crack my style. I'll go to Brussels, I'll go to Germany, I'll go to those other places. What do you think? Gary, I mean, at the end of the day, the conservative is a broad church that speaks about freedom in a sense, freedom of to be competitive, so people can aspire, people can make money, you know, and therefore they can help others. What do you say, Jenny Jones? What do you say, Boss Nadia? What do you say, Natasha Johnson? What do you say, Junior Henlon? What do you say about that? You know?
I mean, we know that okay, there may be some credence to people who are good financiers and they're making money. They make money for themselves. I don't think I think we've got to let's think sensibly. If it
Yes.
was us, if it was you, Sylbourne, if it was me, Graham, if it was anybody out there that had the opportunities to be making money, we would make money for ourselves. It's us. Even though we are making money for others, and we're making money for companies and for the state and for this and for that. But essentially, we are making money for ourselves. And
Mm.
because the world and society is of such that selfishness and greed is very prominent. You see, we're not talking about that. People don't see the greed. People are not talking about the selfishness of people. But that's what's driving men and women And companies don't run themselves.
Yeah.
Companies do not. BP is not
A friend of the family.
well, no, well, I mean, I want to say BP is not a living organism. You know, Texaco, Shell, British Telecom, all of these companies, the energy companies and the tech companies like Amazon, they are not living organisms in and of themselves. They are
Yeah.
companies set up by men to make
Yes.
money, and they're making money off the backs of those who are not making anything at all. They're keeping up.
No, you're right. You're right. All of this, all the money that these guys are making, and I think one of the good news that came through is that inflation has dropped recently. But why it has dropped is because the petrol prices at the pump have been going down. I've been saying that for a while. That I noticed that my Shell petrol station, it has been going down, so the prices have dropped somewhat. Somehow I cannot understand. And my layman, I'm a lawyer, I'm not a financier, but why the prices well, let's just say she capped it to 2,500 anyhow still. So my thing now for the energy for electric and gas, if it is capped for 2,500, the question is this: should I just turn on the heating and everything and just make it go on and go on and go on? It won't pass 2,500. Is that what it says, Gary? What do you think? I don't know.
I don't know. You see again. How do they come to these figures? I mean,
Mm,
1 minute it was, let's say, 1 minute it was 3,500 cap. Then she brought it down to 2,000, what, 2,500, 2,400?
2005.
Okay,
2005, yeah.
2,500. What calculations are they using to bring these things down? How do they come to these figures?
Well, Boris Johnson said the last time. Boris Johnson said the last time, how how will you do certain things? And he said, by how will you get electric into the cars or so? How will you afford it? Or, and he said, with a plug. You plug it in.
But but listen, I mean, I think everybody ought to know this. Who doesn't want? And it's about these electric cars and everything going green and everything like that. But let me ask everybody this:
Yes.
that that okay, buy your electric cars and do everything by electric. But the thing about it is this: that there isn't enough energy. There will never be enough energy to power our electric cars. It's not
Yeah.
there. It
Yeah.
can't happen. And
Mm.
I dare say I may not be alive to see these things. But I remember quite clearly when all of a sudden diesel was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And it was the cheapest thing that you could get. And they wanted everybody to go diesel. So what did they do? They lowered the price.
Mm.
They did the adverts and the whole country, everybody went diesel. Well, I didn't at the time. And then all of a sudden, it's turned around. Diesel is
Yes.
more expensive than petrol, yes, even though there are some diesel cars right now that are more economical than the petrol.
Yeah.
And even according to them, they do not emit poisonous gases and they run even more quieter. Then the thing about it, all of a sudden, electric cars come. Now, I guarantee you, I may not be around, but if you are around anybody out there, right, it's going to turn again because this is a money making scheme.
Gary, you got the anointing of Abraham and those guys. You're gonna live forever, like long time.
Well,
It is when who was it that was that walked with God and he was no more? Was it Elijah?
Enoch walked
Enoch.
and was not, for God took him. So he's,
Yeah.
he's
Okay.
still alive somewhere.
So let's take it like that. So yeah, so you'll be walking with God until you know more. You know what I mean?
No, but listen, that is the greatest Ponzi scheme that will ever live. If there's anything that is as false as anything else, is
Yeah.
this electric car business because I can't see it.
So it's another con. It's another con.
It is another con. because
Scammers to the highest level.
listen. I mean, the thing about it, still, and we don't want to go on all day about it, but they're saying to everybody, right, that electricity utilities are going up by £2,500 cap,
Mm,
and they're saying just for this year, because after
mm,
there is a limit that they're going to do that, then they're going to even remove that, and you're going to have to pay a higher price.
mm.
Now everything is going electric. Who in this country, never mind the whole world, forget about the world right now. We are already crying out that we can't. That people have to choose between yeah, eating and heating the house, eating or taking our children, or grandchildren to school, right?
Yes.
So when everything goes electric, are you going to be able to put enough electric in your car to go where anybody wants to? And then the thing about it
Mm,
again, they want to put all points all over the country, but when you get to or when you go to wherever you're going, the car runs out. There's no electric points anywhere. What are you then going to
yes.
do? It's just
Well,
a Ponzi scheme because another government is going to come in and say, okay, this thing is not working. We'll go back to petrol.
I wouldn't be surprised, and that's why I don't jump ship and jump boats and everything like that. But Gary, before we wrap up, and ladies and gentlemen, and yeah, we're gonna keep following up on the. I think the chancellor is gonna give a speech. I think after the funeral, and Liz Truss is gonna get back on the road. King Charles is going to be fighting his pen. I don't know if you guys have been following that. Uh, I hate that. Somebody said to me, he must have some links with Jamaica because only Jamaica said, I hate this S pen. This so they say he must have some links. But listen, on a sad note, there was this young gentleman, and I put his picture up there, Chris Kaba, last week who was shot and killed by police in Streatham, which is not so far from me. Apparently they said the car was flagged as being linked with gun, and helicopter was circling ahead, and also police were actually chasing him, and they hemmed him in and they shot him, kill him. um, the only thing I can say about this is that it's unfortunate because just during the carnival there's another black man who was a rapper or a drill artist. I think Chris Kaba is also a drill artist. The guy from Notting Gate was stabbed, and he's from Bristol. I've heard anything more about that, but there has been demonstration for Chris Kaba in regards to the police work, and many people are saying the police are racist and defund the police. So far, a couple of things have happened thus far, and what has happened thus far is the family request has been has been taken into consideration, even though the police are saying that's not the reason why they did it to get the not the body. I won't touch the body cam yet, but for the police on frontline duty to be suspended. So the Met officer who shot dead the unarmed man was removed from duty, and there's also investigation. Independent Office for Police Conduct has opened a homicide inquiry, and this decision has been reached following careful consideration of a number of factors, including the significant impact on public confidence, and in light of the IOPC commencing announcing a homicide investigation. This is very interesting because recently there has been a new appointment of a new commissioner that has taken over. And this commissioner also was one of the key figures that was on the front line during the Mark Duggan crisis, which took place in Tottenham, where there was a massive demonstration. The third thing which has happened, and I can hear you, but my mic has gone funny. My mic has gone funny.
A little.
My mic has gone funny. Can you hear me? My mic has gone funny. My mic has gone funny. My mic has gone funny. Yeah. Let's put it in here. I think because I was moving away. Yeah. The third thing which has happened now is that the police have now said they're going to disclose the body cam footage. Um, so the family can see as well. Now, all I can say about this, Gary, and in cases like this, sometimes I try not to comment on these things, except just comment on it to say that to raise the awareness and for people to be aware. Because one, I don't know the gentleman, and I don't know the background, and I don't know the body cam, but all I can say is to say to young men out there, black boys, black girls, people out there, is just try to be on the safe side and be on the right side of the law. Just be on the right side and say and of the law at this moment in time, and try to be wise. Because when they say defund the police, like what they say in America, I know that anything that happens, the first thing that people call is the police. And of course, there's confidence to be made and confidence to be had. But that's all I want to say right there. And may rest in peace and condolences to the family. And we hope that things will unfold more so we can understand what happened. That's fair enough, isn't it, Gary?
Yes,
You can hear
yes,
me?
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. I can
that's
hear
fair
you.
enough.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah. you know, but the other thing also is in light of the whole Queen, and as we wrap up, because I'm going to wrap up a bit earlier today, is that I think the UK, in a way, Gary, is on the threshold of something. I mean, if one is going to put on a prophetic eye with an eagle eye, one can see that a new prime minister has come on board, a new king has come on board, a new commissioner of police has come on board. It's like a new era. It's like something fresh is in the season. And many people have been talking about it as well. And it's how can we all play a part in this whole process? I long for the day, and I hope eventually that the leaders of this country, and I think by virtue of the Queen's death and the coming together, they can all put their heads together and sort out this energy crisis. Because Gary, whenever something happened and a person start to die from not eating, or a person start to die because of lack of heating, you'll see how action is taking place quickly to rectify any wrong. And we don't want that. But sometimes these are what happen. Just like with the case of the in the social service world, Victoria Klimby, Baby P, those were landmark incidents or accidents or death that never had to happen. That took place, that made some shift and some changes, you know. And yes, I think we're on the threshold of something new. Mm.
Yes, I will concur with that. Still, I think that we're on the verge of something. Yes,
Mm.
it is going to be new because the citizens of this country and the citizens of this world,
Yeah.
we're going to experience something which has never ever happened before. And I think also that the church, because I'm a representative of a church, I'm a
Mm.
representative because I'm a minister within an organization, and I'm proud to be. And I just think that we need to be more woke. Not only is woke happening out in the world, but I think we need to be woke. We need not to be asleep. And I think that sometimes we, when a man is sleeping still and something frightens him and he kicks, I don't think there should be a jerk, a knee jerk reaction here. No.
We should be going with our eyes open and know exactly
Yes,
what's happening.
yes. Be in The Lord has given his body control over itself to some extent to react and to be more proactive. This is,
Eyes that can see, and
yes,
ears that can hear.
yes. That is, you put that. I
Mm.
think probably the spirit of prophecy has just landed on you instead of me. But yes, I believe that we need to be alert, more alert now than at any other time in human
Yeah.
history,
Mm.
because something is coming on mankind that
Yeah.
if we, the church, and we are claiming to be the body of Christ on earth, then nothing ought to take us by surprise. But it would seem that that is exactly what is going to happen because we are not. We are, and listen, you need to close. I know.
No, no, no. Go on, go on. We have time. Yeah.
I think, Sil, and I don't want any of my colleagues. I don't know how many of them may be out there. And when I say colleagues, I mean ministers of other churches, not only in my church. I'm not talking about my church only because we've got some very able and very active, proactive colleagues in these churches, in these organizations, doing great things in the community. And they're
Yes.
meeting with influential people. They're meeting, they're sitting around the table and they are communicating to the men and to the women that needs to hear. But let us not only just think that we need to be meeting with these men, having a cup of tea, having biscuit, talking about these things. There is something else more that we need to be doing, and that is making not only these people aware, but also the community in which we're in speak out, say
Yes.
something. Let them know that you're not just there to have a cup of tea and biscuit and sit around a mahogany table. That's not what we're called to do. We're
Yes.
called to make a difference. And, I just want to encourage my colleagues and the wider community, to be strong, to be sober, to be vigilant, because there is an enemy out there that is like the Bible says, as a roaring lion. He's not a lion, but he's like one, and he's ready to devour and to defeat us if we're not careful.
Steal, kill, and destroy.
Yes.
Steal, kill, and destroy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard the word. The word has come forth. And go forth. I think at the end of the day, people have got to make sure that the path that they choose is the path which is right, and they've got to choose that pathway.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if they don't choose that pathway, somebody's going to choose a pathway for you.
Amen.
And the worst thing is when somebody chooses a pathway for you, and you realize that is out of your hands completely and totally. And I think that is so important. So, as you rightly say, we're on the threshold of something great, something powerful, but it cannot happen just by itself. We all play a part in the whole process. We either go with the flow or we don't go with the flow. And my philosophy is don't go with the flow, or you'll be in someone else's stream. Create your own rivers. I never say the sky's the limit. The sky is the start. That's a motivational word today.
It looks like the spirit of prophecy is more with you than me, my brother. That's good encouragement. That's good encouragement.
They said the spirit is moving just like a
magnet.
That's like a magnet. Capturing everyone. Well, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully Saturday night I might have Chief Richard Curry from the Maroons in Jamaica. We're working on that one for Talk and Sip, maybe the first hour. And I've got a young man, 17 years of age, hopefully to interview him next week. Tuesday, Trev Anderson. I want to bring out some young people who are doing some fantastic stuff out there, as well. So peace out. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Have a great Thursday evening. Mourn if you want to mourn. Don't mourn if you don't want to mourn. Live your life. That's your Gary, isn't it?
Yes.
All right, good stuff. Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen on Instagram. Have a good night. And thank you for joining us. And with my guest, Gary. And wish you all the best for everybody. And for those mourning and everything like that. Thank you very much. And have a fantastic and good evening.
God bless.